You fail not because you are weak or incapable, but because your actions are loud while your mind is scattered and distracted. You say you want results, but your attention drifts like leaves in the wind, and your silence is filled with insecurity, not clarity. You wake up with good intentions, yet end your day with excuses, noise, wasted time, and zero movement in the direction that matters. You are not being stopped by life, by others, or by luck. You are being paralyzed by your own inability to move with purpose. And the worst part is, deep down, you know it, you feel it. The shame, the guilt, the weight of days lost to noise. But this ends now, because today I will show you how to act with ruthless focus, deadly silence, and unshakable mental clarity. You will learn what most men never discover, that real power lives in invisible movements, in quiet action, in unbreakable self-direction. I, Napoleon Hill, wrote about the power of thought, the necessity of clarity, and the discipline of sustained, focused, silent pursuit. And what you will hear today is not theory. It is the raw structure that separates the man who finishes from the man who dreams. You do not need more motivation. You need more silence, more focus, more internal contracts that override emotion, chaos, and noise. You will never build a powerful life if you keep exposing your plans, your emotions, and your process to people who don't matter. The world rewards results, not noise. Execution, not talking. Clarity, not chaos. Silence, not public displays of unearned ambition. But right now, your life is full of distractions that you've chosen and commitments that you tolerate, and that's your real problem. You want peace, but you let anyone interrupt your day. You want results, but you explain more than you execute. That's weakness, and I will not allow you to stay weak, because weakness is not who you are, it's who you've been pretending to be. The focused man doesn't talk about what he's going to do, he just does it. Quietly, daily, without needing permission or praise. He protects his mental space like a fortress. He guards his calendar like a king. He refuses to trade silence for validation. And you will become that man if you're willing to give up the noise, the excuses, and the addiction to attention and approval. You do not need more time. You need less distraction. You need tighter routines, stronger boundaries, and cleaner commitments. Every day you must wake up and build your empire in silence. No posts, no updates, no stay tuned, just action. Relentless, because focus is not a gift. It's not a trait. It's not genetic. It is a muscle that you either train or let rot in weakness. And right now, your focus is soft. Your mind is loose. Your vision is blurred by every notification, conversation, and hesitation. But that can change. In fact, it will change if you follow this code. The code of silent warriors, men who lead without noise. Here's where we begin. Clarity. What is the mission? What matters? What result must you create? No matter the emotion or pressure. If you can't answer that, you're already lost, because a man without a mission will be pulled by every distraction in the world. So write it, define it, get clear, not cute, not vague, sharp, direct, specific. The clearer the vision, the quieter the mind. Then comes environment. You cannot stay focused in chaos. You must redesign your world to serve the mission, not the emotion. Every screen, sound, and person must be filtered. Does it reinforce your goal or weaken it? If it weakens, it goes. No debate. You're building something sacred, and sacred things are not built in noisy places. They are built in focused, controlled silence. Now structure your time. Block it, guard it. Do not let anyone invade it. Not friends, not trends, not thoughts that don't serve. From the moment you wake up, you act like a man possessed by purpose. No scrolling, no replying, no checking, just building. Your calendar is your battlefield, and you win by making it boring, brutal, repetitive. the same powerful moves every single day. This is where most men fail. They confuse complexity with progress. But high performers simplify, they automate, they eliminate, and then they disappear into focus. Not hiding, building, not avoiding, executing, not vanishing, ascending in. Powerful silence. You do not need applause, you do not need recognition, you need results. And results don't come from explaining your process. They come from ruthless implementation, from quiet mornings, from lonely hours of discipline that compound into greatness. And in that silence, you become someone different, someone sharper, someone stronger, someone they never saw coming. Because while they were talking, you were building. While they were doubting, you were drilling. While they were judging, you rose. And you owe no one a warning. You owe them results. Your focus will speak. Your progress will shock. Your silence will lead. So decide now, are you done with the noise? Are you ready to let go of the comfort of being seen and the chaos of being distracted? Comment below. What distraction are you deleting today? What noise ends here? What will you build in complete, lethal silence? If this message activated something in you, share it. Let another man break free from the addiction to noise and start executing. Then, like this video, let it mark the moment where you stopped being emotional and started becoming unshakable in silence. And subscribe, because what comes next will install a focus so sharp your life will become a weapon, a force, a revolution. Now that the distractions have been exposed and the mission clarified, the next step is to weaponize your focus into daily action. You no longer think about movement, you move. You no longer discuss intentions, you execute. You no longer wait for clarity, you create it. Because in the world of real performance, silence isn't absence, it's presence. It's the full force of your attention, undivided and ruthless. And that presence must now dominate every room you enter, not by what you say, but by the intensity of your execution. The man who moves in silence isn't weak, he's dangerous. Because his silence isn't confusion, it's clarity wrapped in unbreakable discipline. While the world is addicted to dopamine and distraction, you will become obsessed with momentum, execution, and internal command. And command doesn't come from motivation. It comes from architecture, routines, systems, boundaries so firm they feel like armor. Napoleon Hill taught that success responds to definiteness of purpose and persistence of action, not talk, not opinions, not feelings. So now we install the next layer of your system, identity-based behavior, because your results will never outgrow your self-image. If you still see yourself as someone who tries, hopes, or waits, then your actions will always reflect hesitation and inconsistency. But if you shift your identity into a focused, disciplined executor, your behavior will rise to match that frame without resistance. How do you shift identity? You act as the man you want to become before it feels natural. You lead with behavior, not belief, and you do it in silence. Not to be mysterious, but because your evolution is not a spectacle. It's sacred, it's strategic. Every morning you remind yourself, I don't need to be seen, I need to be sharp, I need to be structured, I need to build. And every evening you ask, did I honor the mission? Did I stay in the frame? Did I waste any time explaining instead of acting? This is not pressure, it's power. Because pressure without purpose is anxiety. But pressure with structure becomes performance fuel. And you will learn to use that pressure, not to crumble, but to refine. To execute even more ruthlessly when the heat rises. Because that's the difference between a focused man and a distracted one. The focused man gets sharper under fire. He doesn't escape. He doesn't panic. He leans in, and the world notices not by his noise, but by the gravity of his energy. Energy that is no longer scattered across conversations, apps, notifications, or people who haven't earned your time or attention. You. Now guard your energy the way a king guards his throne. Because without energy, your focus is fragile and collapses fast. So cut the leaks. Audit every hour, clean every input. Control your consumption. The mind is a weapon, but only when sharpened. You don't feed a weapon junk, you feed it purpose, clarity, silence. You only expose it to what builds, strengthens, and disciplines. And once your mind is trained like that, your focus becomes unshakable. You don't get pulled, you pull. You drive the day forward, and the world around you shifts. Not because you changed the world, but because you became the man it couldn't ignore. So here's the frame. Every action you take must echo your mission. If it doesn't reinforce the vision, it doesn't happen. It doesn't matter how convenient it is, how easy, how emotional. If it breaks the code, it's dead on arrival. That's the discipline, not because you're trying to be rigid, but because you've decided that nothing matters more than your direction, and direction demands deletion. You must be willing to lose access to old behaviors, old identities, and old environments. The places that gave you comfort must be replaced with the spaces that demand growth, silence, and laser-sharp attention. And the more you delete, the clearer things become. You stop managing emotions, you start mastering execution, because real men don't perform for comfort, they perform for conquest, for clarity, for internal congruence with what they believe. And if you really believe in your mission, your behavior will scream it, even if your mouth stays completely silent. Let them wonder what you're building. Let them assume you're quiet because you're unsure. Let them misread your silence. Because by the time they realize the truth, your results will be undeniable. Your rise will be irreversible. Your name will echo. But none of that matters more than the man you become in the process. Because becoming focused means becoming free. Free from distraction, free from noise, free from opinions, free from needing external fuel to move. You are your own power source. So now write your new code. One line, one truth, one decision. I only act in alignment with my highest mission. Everything else dies. Say it again out loud. Now breathe it, feel it. Burn it into your nervous system until it's not a mantra. It's your nature. Then comment below, what are you cutting today? What behavior, app, habit or distraction is dying so your focus can live? Then share this message. Because another man out there is drowning in noise and doesn't know how to rise in silence. Then like this video, let it be your stamp, your standard, your start. Let it be the moment your actions stopped needing a stage. And subscribe. Because what comes next will engrave this discipline so deeply, you'll never need motivation again. Only mission. Every day you wake up is another opportunity to either master your focus or surrender to the same distractions that ruin your future. You don't need more chances. You've had chances. You need execution. You need to move like your future depends on it because it does. And you move in silence because that's the only space where true focus can be forged. Not in noise, not in debate, not in delay. You've already tasted the chaos of a life lived on other people's terms. Now it's time to experience the power of living on your own. And that power begins in silence, in structure, in unshakable commitment to the process, regardless of how you feel or who's watching, because how you feel has no relevance to your mission, and who's watching has zero bearing on your output. You're past that now. You've been training not just your mind, but your entire nervous system to stay aligned under fire, to operate under pressure, silently. This is where you stop acting like a man in transition and become the man who moves with presence, posture, and purpose. Napoleon Hill taught that the mind must be directed by definiteness of purpose. Without it, energy disperses, attention vanishes. You can no longer afford scattered energy. You are not a wandering soul. You are a sharpened blade, a laser, a force of nature. And that force must be pointed at only one thing, the execution of your vision, without announcement, without applause, without noise. The loudest man in the room is usually the weakest, because the strong don't speak, they act, they build, they dominate in silence. Now that you've cleaned the clutter, eliminated the noise, and committed to structure, it's time to fortify your discipline even further. That means you no longer negotiate with yourself. No more, "I'll start later." No more, "just 5 more minutes." No more weakness. Discipline is no longer something you strive for. It's your new identity. And that identity moves first, fast, and in absolute silence. Silence is your shield, because when you're silent, you're not distracted by approval. You're not swayed by doubt. You're untouchable. Your silence is not passive, it's deliberate. Every second you don't respond to noise, you're reinforcing your own internal command. And command is what builds legacy. The man who leads himself leads everything else. And self-leadership begins with focus. Focus on the work, on the habits, on the structure, on the delayed gratification, on the mission that will not wait for your mood. So install it, hardwire it, engrave it in your schedule, your thoughts, your routines. You no longer do this because you should. You do this because you're the kind of man who cannot live any other way. Discipline is no longer a burden, it's your oxygen. You breathe it when others complain. You consume it while they distract themselves. You become stronger every second. You obey it. And that strength becomes visible, not in what you say, but in how you walk, how you breathe, how you dominate silently. People will notice. They'll wonder what changed. They'll feel the difference in your presence, but they won't see the process. Because the process is private. It's yours. It's sacred. And it was built in moments they'll never witness. During hours they wasted. That's your advantage. You rise when others sleep. You work when others scroll. You move when others explain. You win in silence. And as your discipline deepens, you'll find you don't even need to resist distractions. They simply disappear from your radar. You won't even be tempted, because your focus will be so intense, so absolute, that everything else fades into irrelevance. This is the power of immersion, of being so deep in your mission that the world shrinks to only what moves it forward. So ask yourself, what still pulls your attention away? Identify it, delete it, replace it with ritual, with structure, with repetition. Because repetition is how your new identity cements itself, not through inspiration, but through relentless, boring, brutal execution. You do not rise through emotion. You rise through enforcement, through showing up the same way every day, no matter what. And that consistency in silence is what will separate you from every man who still needs motivation just to take one step. You are beyond that now. You are building momentum so powerful, it would take a full breakdown to stop you, and even then, you'd rebuild. Because resilience is not reacting, it's resetting. It's staying rooted while storms scream around you. And storms will come, but you've already chosen. You've decided that nothing outside you can command your attention without your permission. And that permission is reserved only for what strengthens your path. Everything else is denied without explanation. So keep enforcing, keep trimming the fat. Keep eliminating every input that doesn't amplify your execution. Every morning you rise with the same code. Focus, execute, stay silent, build, lead. That's the only mantra you'll ever need again. Now comment below. What is the one behavior you're now replacing with disciplined, silent action starting today? Be specific. Then share this message. There's another man out there addicted to chaos, and he needs your example more than your words. Then like this video. Let it mark the moment your actions stopped being optional and became sacred. And subscribe, because what's coming next will install precision so sharp, even pressure will be powerless against your focus. You are no longer a man looking for clarity. You are a man reinforcing it through repeated, silent, disciplined execution every single day. Your path is no longer theory, no longer a journal entry, no longer a plan saved in some forgotten folder. It is action, structure, truth. You've trained your mind to obey mission over emotion. You've eliminated noise. You've turned silence into your greatest weapon of focus. But now, the mission deepens. Because the world will test you. And your silence will not just be strategic, it will become sacred. Not everyone will understand your focus. Not everyone will support your silence. Not everyone deserves access to your momentum. And this is the next discipline, strategic invisibility. The art of building massively without broadcasting minimally. Pure execution, zero updates. Because when you're truly locked in, you don't have time to explain. You don't have energy to convince. You don't seek approval. The man who moves in true silence doesn't just avoid noise. He transcends it. His execution speaks louder than any announcement. Napoleon Hill said that the man who knows where he's going forces the world to make way for him. But he doesn't yell that, he proves it. You prove it now. Not through conversations, but through calendars. Not through arguments, but through actions. Not through status, through results. So tighten everything. Your time, your thoughts, your access. Not from fear, but from focus. Not from scarcity, but from self-respect. You've realized that your greatest asset isn't your ambition, it's your attention. And you guard it like a soldier defends a fortress. Every minute you waste trying to be seen is a minute stolen from the mission. You're not here to be noticed. You're here to be undeniable. And undeniable men don't chase attention. They chase mastery. They chase progress. They chase impact. Silently. Ruthlessly. This is why you now operate on a higher frequency. One where the only signal you respond to is the one that moves you forward. You do not chase reactions. You chase alignment. You do not follow trends. You follow your internal timeline. You don't compete. You lead. You lead with stillness, with consistency, with quiet dominance. And that dominance becomes visible when your results become impossible to ignore. But even then, you say nothing. Because silence isn't just a tool anymore. It's who you are. It's your strategy. It's your signature. You are the man they can't read, can't shake, can't tempt with comfort, can't distract with chaos, because you've mastered still execution. Stillness does not mean slow. It means precise, calculated, steady. It means you waste no motion, no energy, no words. Everything about your life now reflects this. Your schedule, your rituals, your room, your posture, your presence, your pace. You're not rushing. You're not reacting. You're not running around. You are moving forward with force, measured, focused, controlled. And that control is what keeps your performance consistent, because you've learned how to create internal momentum on demand. You no longer rely on external pressure. You no longer wait for deadlines. You no longer depend on accountability. You are the fire. You create urgency by remembering the man you refused to become again. You remember the time you lost, the potential you buried. You turn that past into pressure. You turn that pressure into power. You turn that power into practice, and you do it quietly. Now the next rule: say less, do more. Always, in every situation, every room, every conflict, every opportunity, every challenge. Let your reputation be built on delivery, not declarations. Let your consistency be the conversation. Let your execution be the example, because you're not in this to impress, you're in this to ascend. And ascension requires silence, not status, stillness, not spectacle. You don't brag about waking up early, you just wake up early. You don't announce your comeback, you just come back harder. You don't need to prove you're disciplined, because the proof is in your patterns, and your patterns never lie. They reveal who you are, and right now your patterns are sharpening, strengthening, solidifying into the identity of an elite operator. So keep going, keep enforcing, keep acting like the man you swore to become. Not sometimes, not when it's easy, always. Comment below. What's one area of your life where you will now enforce strategic silence and act without explanation? Then share this video. Not for fame, but to wake another man up. One who's stuck in noise and ready to rise with precision. Then like the video, let it anchor the shift you've made. Let it mark the moment you chose silence over chaos and mastery over emotion. And subscribe. Because the next part will install a new kind of calm. One that doesn't fold, flinch or fade. One that leads in every storm. Now that your silence is sacred and your structure is installed, there's one more discipline you must master to truly ascend: emotional neutrality. Because even the most focused men break when emotion hijacks their execution. They spiral, they stall, they start over again and again, not because they lack ability, but because they never learn to separate intensity from reaction. They confuse energy with emotion, and emotion, unchecked, is the enemy of focus. Emotion is chaos dressed as truth, noise disguised as urgency, reaction pretending to be clarity. But high performance isn't emotional, it's strategic, it's calculated, it's repeatable. It's built on action that stays the same, regardless of mood. You do not lead your life based on how you feel. You lead it based on what you've decided. That is your new default, and that default must be protected from triggers, from drama, from unnecessary friction, from every voice that wants to pull you off path. Napoleon Hill said the man who can control himself can control any situation, because he no longer reacts, he decides. You are now that man. You're not calm because life is easy. You're calm because your mission matters more than temporary emotions. And your silence is no longer just discipline, it's a defense system. A filter that blocks anything that doesn't serve the vision. You do not respond to criticism. You do not chase approval. You do not explain your focus. You simply enforce it daily, and that enforcement becomes peace. Not the kind you buy, not the kind you find, the kind you build moment by moment. You build it through habits, through sleep, through breath, through movement, through hard conversations, through relentless boundaries. Every decision you make now is anchored in clarity. Does this build me or break me? If it breaks, it's gone. No more debate, no more explaining your vision to people who lack one, no more watering down your habits to fit into average environments. Your time is now non-negotiable. Your space is sacred. Your standards are enforced, not suggested. You've chosen a new frequency, one where emotions don't interrupt execution, where mental storms don't stop the system, where silence isn't weakness, it's power. You are not here to be liked. You are here to lead, and leadership begins with the ability to remain unshaken under internal pressure. You don't fake calm, you train it. You don't pretend to be disciplined. You prove it with the patterns no one sees, but everyone feels. This is the identity you live now. The man who rises early without alarm, the man who chooses solitude over chaos, the man who produces in silence, who corrects in silence, who scales in silence, who dominates without ever needing to announce it. And now that your mind is armored, your silence weaponized, and your emotions mastered, you are ready for the next evolution. Comment below. What emotional trigger will you no longer allow to control your behavior? Name it, kill it, replace it, then share this message. Let another man know he is not weak, he is just undisciplined. And that can be fixed. Then, like this video, let it mark the moment where silence, structure, and self-control became your new way of life. And subscribe, because what comes next is a full system to live above emotion and operate from elite, unshakable focus every day. By now you understand that power is not found in noise, performance, or validation. It is found in silent control over every aspect of your execution. You've cut distractions, hardened your discipline, weaponized your routines, and mastered emotional stillness. But there's one more layer to build: sustained focus. Not for one day, not for a week, but for a lifetime. Because greatness is not about having moments of power, it's about never breaking. And to achieve that, you must live by systems that cannot be broken by feeling, friction, failure, or fatigue. You build those systems now. Napoleon Hill taught that success belongs to the man who creates definiteness of purpose, backed by a burning desire and organized planning. That means your systems can't be reactive. They must be ritualized. You don't rely on memory. You don't rely on motivation. You rely on automation. The high performer isn't better than you. He's just better organized. His thoughts are clearer. His day is mapped. His action is automatic. So from this point forward, your entire life becomes systematized. Not rigid, free, not mechanical, optimized, not boring, powerful. Start with your mornings. They are now sacred ground. You rise before the world not to prove anything, but to protect everything. Your clarity, your energy, your mission, your soul. You do not start your day scrolling. You start it in silence, in breath, in ownership. Before any screen touches your hand, your mind has already been sharpened. Your purpose has already been written. Your direction set. You do not react to the day. You initiate it. You enter it as a leader, not a follower. A builder, not a victim. A master, not a wanderer. This is not mindset hype. It's strategic domination of your time. Because the first 60 minutes of your day determine the tone of the next 16 hours. So you ritualize them. Water, movement, focus, intentional input, no chaos. No reaction, no rush, only rhythm, precision, calm, power. Then comes your work. You don't chase to-do lists. You execute priorities. 3 non-negotiable targets, built around your ultimate vision. You don't fill your time, you compress it. You apply force to the needle-moving tasks and eliminate the rest. Distraction dies, you operate in time blocks. You don't multitask, you don't bounce between tabs. You move with surgical intensity and deep focus. Your calendar becomes your accountability. Your alarms become your reset buttons. Your environment becomes a performance lab. The phone goes away. Notifications are off. You answer the world on your terms, not theirs. You've built a fortress around your focus, and when that focus is aligned with your mission, you produce more in 2 hours than most do in 2 days. Because you're dialed in, you're not available, you're not busy, you're not checking, you're building quietly, unapologetically, daily. Then comes recovery. Because performance without recovery leads to collapse. You don't grind until you break. You build until you expand. Recovery is not laziness. It's leverage. You rest with intent. You eat to optimize. You train to sustain. You sleep to sharpen. You don't waste weekends. You reinforce them. You don't escape your life. You recalibrate your weapon. And all of this is done quietly. You don't need a camera. You don't need a quote. You don't need applause, because your validation is now internal. Your approval is self-generated. Your worth is reinforced in patterns, not praise. This is the man you've become. The silent executor, the strategic ascender, the focused builder. And now, because you live this way, your results become predictable. Your progress becomes constant. Your power becomes untouchable. Others will wonder how you did it, and you'll know the truth. It wasn't what you added. It was what you removed. Distraction, emotion, chaos, noise. You removed them all. And what was left was the real you. The focused, dangerous version. So now you ask, what still needs to be cut? What still gets too much of my time, my energy, my attention? Because high performance is not about doing more, it's about doing less, better, with more intensity, more clarity, and no hesitation. Comment below. What part of your day are you now systematizing to protect your focus and elevate your output? Then share this message, because there's a man out there with potential, but without a system, and he's wasting his life in chaos. Then, like this video, let it be the signal that you've moved from motivation to mastery, from noise to structure. And subscribe, because what comes next is the ultimate level. How to turn this rhythm into a legacy that cannot be erased. You now operate from a different place, not from pressure, not from panic, but from principle. And that principle is focus, forged in silence. Every move you make is now anchored in structure. Your presence is calm, your actions are precise, your outcomes are the natural result. But as you ascend, you'll notice something else. The world will try to pull you back, not with force, but with subtle invitations to chaos. Distractions disguised as opportunities, conversations masked as connections, weakness offered as rest. You must see through all of it, because now your greatest threat isn't failure, it's dilution. The slow erosion of clarity by 1,000 small yeses that should have been no Napoleon Hill warned that drifting is the silent killer of ambition. It doesn't shout, it whispers, it tempts, it delays, it deceives. And the man who allows drift allows destruction, not overnight, but eventually. And the only weapon against it is unwavering intentionality. You must now live with militant focus. Every day, every hour, every choice, you filter everything through one question. Does this build? If it builds, you keep it. If it distracts, you cut it. No emotion, no hesitation, no justification, just action. Ruthless, focused action. Because at this stage, discipline is not about doing what's right. It's about not allowing what's wrong to even enter your field. You do not compromise. You do not tolerate. You do not entertain anything that slows your execution. You're too focused for that. You didn't train to reach this level just to flirt with comfort. You trained to dominate silently, without being pulled into mediocrity again. And yes, people will misunderstand you. They'll call you distant, arrogant, cold. Let them. You weren't built for their comfort. You were built for clarity. And clarity requires solitude. It requires saying no more often. It requires choosing systems over stories and progress over peace. You now move with emotional detachment, not from numbness, but from conviction. You don't react, you redirect. You don't explode, you expand. This is the new edge, internal dominance. No matter what's happening externally, your focus remains, your mission remains. You lead yourself first. That is the foundation of all real leadership. And the man who leads himself cannot be led by distraction. So now you refine. You look at your routines and ask, where am I still soft? Where am I still reactive? Where can I be even sharper? Because high performance is not static. It evolves. You don't build once. You build endlessly. You don't install once. You update forever. And the moment you stop refining is the moment you start falling. So you never stop. You never relax. You never collapse into autopilot. Every day is another rep, another round, another battle to win over your lower self. And you win it in silence, with structure. You wake up before chaos arrives. You prepare before problems appear. You execute before doubt has a chance to speak. This is how you stay ahead. Not by rushing, not by reacting, but by living in a rhythm that cannot be broken by circumstances. That rhythm is now your signature. They will know you not by your noise, but by your relentless consistency and unshakable presence. You've become a system, a force, a man who acts without delay, leads without demand, and delivers without needing recognition. And that kind of man builds legacy. Not through moments, but through years of sustained, quiet, unstoppable focus. Now ask yourself, where are you still leaking attention? What small indulgence is slowly eroding your sharpness? Identify it, remove it, then comment below. What are you now eliminating to protect your focus at the highest level? Then share this message. Let another man feel the weight of this standard and rise to match it. Then like this video. Let it be the stamp of your new rhythm. Silence, structure, execution, and subscribe. Because the next part will install your Legacy mindset, how to lead, live and leave a trail of impact in total silence. What you've built is no longer temporary. It's not a phase. It's not a streak, it's a lifestyle, and lifestyles become legacy when sustained. But to sustain anything powerful, you must understand the depth of silence, because this silence is no longer just strategy, it's identity. You no longer operate for validation, you operate from vision. You don't need attention, you are the attention. Not loud but consistent, this is where most men fall apart. They taste power, but they crave applause. They build momentum, but they sell it for recognition. You won't, because you understand that focus is fragile and silence protects it. And you protect what you've built like a fortress. Every pattern in your life now flows from internal command. You don't wait for ideal conditions. You create them with habits. You don't seek emotional alignment. You act through mental alignment. You don't perform for the crowd. You execute for the outcome. Napoleon Hill said, "Self-discipline begins with the mastery of your thoughts, and you've mastered them not with control, but with clarity." Your thoughts no longer wander, they direct, they don't drift, they deploy. Your energy is not scattered, it is allocated intentionally. And because of this, you no longer have bad days. You have structured days, some heavy, some light, but all aligned with the mission. You don't wake up guessing, you wake up executing, not out of fear, but out of devotion. This life is no longer optional, it's your code. So now you begin to automate your future. Not just your mornings, but your entire existence becomes a closed loop of mastery. Decisions are faster, habits are deeper, responses are cleaner. Distractions don't even get noticed, because you've trained your focus. You walk into rooms with presence, not because you say much, but because your aura announces a man who's paid the internal price, and people will begin to ask, "How did you do it?" And you'll smile because the answer is boring. Structure, silence, execution. You'll know they're not ready when they ask for shortcuts. You'll know they're still weak when they resist discipline, because anyone can admire focus, but few can live it. And you've chosen to live it, to bleed for it, to make it your identity. Your days are now designed around energy, not time. Around quality, not quantity. Around direction, not opinion. And you don't adjust to others. You align yourself, and the world adjusts to your gravity. That is influence. That is power. The power of unshakable rhythm. The power of silent leadership. The power of a man who doesn't perform. He produces. So ask yourself, what part of my system can be simplified? Where am I still making emotional decisions that cost me clarity? Because even now, as you rise, you must remain vigilant. Comfort is always hunting, distraction is always lurking. But you no longer fear those things. You see them, and you dismiss them without thought. That is mastery. Comment below, what new system are you installing this week to reinforce your silent discipline? Then share this message. Let another man rise through the stillness you now lead with. Then like this video, not because it motivated you, but because it described you. And subscribe, because the next part is the final seal, how to operate as an unstoppable executor in any environment forever. By now, your life no longer reacts, it executes. You no longer speak your intentions, you live them. Your discipline is no longer situational, it's embedded. This is the turning point where most men fail. Not because they lack knowledge or skill, but because they fail to convert routine into rhythm. You've trained your focus, built your silence, and eliminated chaos. But if it doesn't become who you are every day, it will collapse under pressure. Napoleon Hill wrote about definiteness of purpose and burning desire, but without sustained, focused action, those principles mean nothing, because the world will test your silence. It will send noise, distractions, and temptations designed to pull you back into the average. And here is where you prove everything you've built. not by speaking louder, but by anchoring deeper, not by chasing, but by reinforcing. Silence is not hiding, it's holding. It's choosing to protect your mind, your habits, and your progress from the infections of attention-seeking behavior. Because you now know the truth. Attention is a drug, and silence is the detox. Noise is weakness, and structure is power. You now operate from a new place, a place where everything serves the mission. If it doesn't serve, it doesn't survive. No emotion, and that discipline has to reach every corner of your life, from how you start your day to how you protect your energy at night. You don't let people steal your time anymore. You don't answer nonsense messages. You don't waste hours explaining your focus. Your life is optimized for execution. That means you build not just rituals, but rhythms, not routines, but real systems. Systems that don't depend on your mood, weather, or the opinion of others. Systems that fire every day because the mission matters. Let's break it down. From now on, every part of your day has a purpose. You begin your mornings with fire and silence. No screen, no feed. Just breathing, clarity, hydration, movement, and mental command, not performance. Preparation. You understand now that the first hour of your day is your fortress. It's your silent declaration of war against every distraction. Then comes deep work, not multitasking, not busy work. You lock into one mission, one project, one result, fully, completely. No phone, no interruptions, no drifting. You are unreachable to the world because you're connected to your purpose. This is where you separate from 99% of people, because they think busy means productive. You know better. Busy is noise. Productive is silence. Productive is structured. Productive is what happens when you master your hours, not just fill them. You move through blocks of work like a machine, clean, sharp, focused, because you've trained this. And what you train becomes you, but then you disconnect. Why? Because discipline is not just doing the work, it's knowing when to recover. You rest to reload. You eat to fuel, not escape. You train to sharpen, not impress. You sleep with rituals that respect the temple of your focus. You don't just grind, you regenerate. That's what makes your discipline sustainable. That's what transforms routine into rhythm. And in that rhythm, your silence deepens, your presence sharpens, your reputation begins to echo in rooms you've never entered. People will talk. Let them. You don't need to respond. You don't need to defend. You don't even need to hear it. Because the results will speak. The momentum will speak. Your eyes will say what your words never could. I'm building. And what you're building is not just a productive day, it's a legacy, a body of work, a mental empire rooted in focus and silence. This is what few men ever understand. They want to inspire, but they don't want to endure. They want greatness without grind, but not you. You've chosen to stay when it's boring, to execute when no one is clapping, to rise when emotion says, pause. That's what makes you dangerous. That's what makes you different. Not your ambition, but your ability to act daily in silence. You're not chasing praise, you're chasing proof. You're not seeking eyes, you're seeking impact. Not attention, alignment. This is high-level focus, and it must be protected. Like sacred fire. You don't owe anyone access to your mind unless they protect it too. Now we raise the bar. No more convenience. You install rituals for transitions. You plan your breaks. You design your weekend, because freedom is not the absence of schedule. It's the precision of self-governed time. That's real power. You don't waste time explaining this lifestyle. You embody it, and embodiment makes explanation unnecessary. This is why you now start moving in complete silence. No updates, no working on it, just delivery, just dominance. You show up different, your handshake is different, your gaze is different, your walk is aligned, not forced, flowed, because everything in your life now reinforces your focus. From how you answer calls to how you plan your meals. You've cleaned the house, burned the noise, buried the distractions. What remains is you, the real you. And in that raw version of yourself, you've found a level of peace most men will never taste because they're too afraid of quiet. But not you. You found calm, you found clarity, you found yourself. Not in noise, but in ruthless, deliberate silence. Now comment below. What new rhythm are you installing this week that will reinforce your silent focus and daily execution? Then share this message. Let another man know that focus is a decision, not a gift. That silence is a weapon, not a weakness. Then like this video. Let it mark the day your system stopped needing motivation and started producing momentum by default and subscribe, because in the next part we lock in the legacy layer where your actions outlive you and your silence echoes forever. You've crossed the threshold, not just in behavior, but in identity. You no longer act disciplined. You are disciplined. You no longer chase focus. You are focus. And from this place there is only one direction: legacy. Because when your days are structured, your mind is trained, and your silence is fortified, you begin to realize that your impact is no longer about what you say, but what you consistently build, without recognition, without noise, without pause. Napoleon Hill spoke of men whose minds were so definite in purpose that they became magnetic. Their intentions commanded reality. That's you now. You walk into rooms and change the frequency, not because of status or title, but because of the quiet gravity you carry. You've become a lighthouse, still, silent, powerful, and others will start to follow, not because you're loud, but because you're aligned. Alignment is your new legacy. Not results alone, but results born from rhythm, from silence, from sovereignty over self. But make no mistake, legacy is not some future moment. It's what you're building today, minute by minute, rep by rep, decision by decision. Every time you choose focus over reaction, clarity over chaos, silence over validation, you're cementing that legacy quietly. You don't need to be remembered for what you said. You'll be remembered for what you delivered, what you built, what you enforced, and that enforcement starts with leadership, of self, of others, of energy. Leadership that doesn't demand, it demonstrates. So ask yourself now, how are you leading? What does your family feel from your presence? What does your team see in your patterns? What kind of permission are you granting others simply by existing in full command of your own direction? Because legacy is not built through lectures, it's built through modeling. And the man who models mastery changes more lives than any speech. Your habits will speak louder than your voice ever could. Your silence will carry more weight than any motivational phrase, because it is in the stillness, in the structure, in the steady commitment to the mission that lives are changed, including your own. And here's the secret: the more you master focus, the more people will test it. The more you dominate your hours, the more others will want them. But you do not fold, you do not explain, you do not apologize. Your mission is too important to dilute for the comfort of the undisciplined. Your silence becomes a boundary, a signal that says, I'm not available for noise, I'm not interested in distraction, I'm at work. And when people truly understand that, they'll either rise or retreat. Both are necessary. Because your legacy requires clean space. Space to think, space to create, space to reinforce your discipline, not defend it. You've outgrown defending your focus. You've outgrown defending your silence. Now you simply live it, fully, freely, fiercely. And the more you do, the more your impact compounds. Because silent consistency builds trust, builds influence, builds legacy. You become the man they look to in storms, not because you're flashy, but because you're firm. Not because you perform, but because you persist. This is what separates the man who peaks from the man who sustains. Peaks are loud. Sustained growth is silent, quiet, relentless. That's you. Every morning, every evening, every hour in between. You don't need motivation. You've got momentum. Momentum that was born from order, from silence, from absolute refusal to negotiate with distractions that once stole your fire. Now comment below. What does legacy mean to you? And how are you building it daily through your silence and execution? Then share this message, because another man out there is searching for legacy in noise, and your silence might be the permission he needs. Then like this video, not for likes, for yourself, to anchor the truth that your presence, your posture, your pattern are your legacy. And subscribe, because in the next part, we lock it in for life. How to lead, scale, and operate in ruthless clarity, no matter the season. You've arrived at the final layer. Not the end of the journey, but the beginning of something irreversible. A life forged in focus, shaped in silence, and executed with brutal clarity. You've buried distraction. You've burned the script of your past. You've built a system no one can shake. This is no longer a concept, it's your code. And that code now guides everything. How you move, how you think, how you lead, how you live. Napoleon Hill said that clarity of purpose, backed by persistence, is unstoppable. You've proven that. Not once, daily, quietly, and because of that you are now the man others watch, the one they can't understand, the one who rises while they talk, the one who delivers without announcement, who leads without noise, who earns results in private and never stops refining the process. You've stopped reacting. You've started responding. You've stopped hoping. You've started enforcing, you've stopped waiting, you've started leading, and now nothing outside of you holds the power to pull you out of alignment. No mood, no opinion, no failure, no success. Your mind has become your strongest ally. Your silence has become your sharpest weapon. Your routine has become your rhythm. You're no longer fighting yourself. You're fighting forward, building forward, leading forward. And the world is catching up, but you don't stop, because your standards are no longer external, they are internal. Your performance is personal. Your word is final, and now the only thing left is to scale it, to take this internal empire and reflect it in your outer world, not through speeches, but systems. Your family, your business, your circle, everything now gets built on the same code: silence, focus, discipline, execution. You don't manage people. You manage standards. You don't demand loyalty. You demonstrate it. You don't seek to inspire. You embody, and your embodiment becomes permission for others to rise, to clean up, to focus in, to become leaders of their own lives. That's your real legacy. Not numbers, not titles, but the shift you trigger by simply living at this level of personal clarity. And yes, it will be lonely, because very few are willing to pay the price of this kind of peace. But you've already paid it. You've lived the chaos. You've felt the confusion. You've tasted the failure. And from that fire, you chose discipline. You chose silence. You chose to let go of your past excuses and step into a future built on one decision: I don't quit. I build, and build you did, day after day, in early hours, in silent nights, with no applause, with no spotlight, with no guarantees. But now, you've become the guarantee, the consistent man, the focused leader, the one who moves in total command. So stay there, stay locked in, stay sharp. Don't lower the standard, don't let momentum fade, don't return to noise. This life is yours now, not just the routine, but the results, the clarity, the respect, the presence, the legacy. And if you've made it this far, comment below. What's the one part of your identity that is now permanent because of this journey? Then share this video, not for reach, but for reach within. Let another man touch this message and realize who he could become. Then like this video. Let it mark the moment you stopped being a man in transition and became a man in command. And subscribe, because this mission continues. And now that you've arrived, your job is simple: reinforce, refine, and rise. You've learned how to stay focused. You've learned how to move in silence. Now go lead in power, forever.